James Corden, arsehole. Worst film I've ever seen. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Well, it's always a good day when the sky is blue, the sun is shining, and the environment around one is green, which is certainly the place that I find myself in. It's a glorious day, but you're not here for weather reports. It's also a glorious day because I have an opportunity to give James Corden, arsehole, another metaphorical kicking. Woohoo! Yes, the habitual spunk trumpet that James Corden, arsehole, has found himself the subject of a film review in The Telegraph by Robbie Collin. And the description of the film, Corden's involvement, arsehole, and also the comments thereafter, provide you with another interesting view about how the world sees this weapons-grade helmet. Readers familiar with the comic book characters the Smurfs will be aware that one of their most long-standing customs is swapping in the word Smurf for various nouns in their ordinary speech. It's a habit which can be also usefully adopted by anyone trying to review the Little Blue Forest Sprite's latest film in a way suitable for publication in a family newspaper, because it allows one to succinctly spell out just what a colossal pile of Smurf the whole thing is. Perhaps I ought to change whenever I mention James Corden, arsehole, to James Corden, Smurf. The trailer suggested a Sylvian sing-along adventure in the same vein as the rather fun and lovely Trolls films from DreamWorks. Alas, Smurfs makes even the middling Trolls 3, Trolls Bound Together, look like late-period Hayao Miyazaki by comparison. It has all the charm and personality of a dented traffic cone, and features perhaps the single most tin-eared screenplay, in which Papa Smurf is kidnapped by the villainous wizard Gargamel, and Smurfette leads a globe-trotting mission to free him, that I have ever encountered in my 2 decades as a critic. You'd pity the cast, if not for the fact that, easy check aside, it's unclear why any of them are in it. John Goodman, Nick Offerman, and Kurt Russell play various Smurf elders. Naturally, the Smurfs are no longer just playful magical creatures, but are descended from ancient guardians of the blah blah blah, while Smurfette, the village's lone female Smurf, is voiced in a husky contralto by the R&B singer Rihanna, perhaps the person who sounds least like a Smurf on all of planet Earth, with the arguable exception of Tom Waits. So far, so poor. But hang on, who's this waddling over the horizon? James Corden, arsehole, formerly of the first 2 Trolls films, co-stars as the bluntly named No Name, who has yet to work out his signature Smurf ability, like Hefty Smurf, Brainy Smurf, and the others. The upshot of this is much unfortunate and unintentional, double entendre-laden dialogue in which Corden, arsehole, constantly complains about not being able to find his thing, conjuring mental images to freeze the blood. Indeed, it would. Not a particularly pleasant image at all. There's a little bit more of the review that I needn't bother you with, but it's quite clear that the critic doesn't think well of this film that involves the co-star of Corden, arsehole, giving it 1 star out of 5. That naturally is bad news for a narcissist, because whilst it's a reaction and provides fuel, it's challenge fuel because it's critical of him. It's critical in words of his involvement, and of course it's critical of the film as a whole. So bad news for him. But it also gets worse because it's demonstrative of the way that Corden, arsehole, is reviled by many people as we turn to the comments. Robert York writes, James Corden, arsehole's film career, fat cat, fat Smurf, fat twat. Paul Ramsden, is there not a 0 stars option? Mark Clapham, 2 clues that should have screamed at you. 1, Rihanna. 2, Corden, arsehole. I mean, seriously, who would? K.A. Kavanagh, Rihanna and Corden, arsehole, are both futile and pointless, so it's no wonder this pile of Smurf is awful. Gary Roberts, you would have thought they would have given James Corden, arsehole, a costume and makeup. Mike Rochburns, ba-boom. James Corden, arsehole, a universally disliked individual and talentless non-entity. David Hamilton responds to this. That's just it, though. He isn't a non-entity. Despite being an all-round atrocious human being, he's managed to make millions from Gavin and Stacey, which isn't bad, his chat show in the US, which is a travesty compared to Craig Ferguson, his predecessor, and such flops as Cats and this Smurf rubbish. It's quite ridiculous. Ivaylo Apachev, he was too busy preparing to be, what was it? Prime Minister? I think you mean London Mayor. North Star, Corden, arsehole, is a complete bell end and about as funny as leprosy. Anthony Playwright, who is James Corden, arsehole? John Mulvaney helpfully answers, fat boy. Willie Eckerslike, interesting that so many people here can't abide the thought of James Corden, arsehole. Are they the same people who think Gavin and Stacey is a great sitcom? Mark Scholes replies, there's absolutely no reason why you can't love it and dislike him. George Mills, Corden, arsehole, is an insufferable bore. Not surprised, it is a flop. R. Travis, the great thing about Corden, arsehole, is that you wouldn't need to spend any money on prosthetics. Jimbo Jones, lesbian vampires, cats, now this. James Corden, arseholes, unblemished movie record. Richard Murray, Corden, arsehole, isn't faintly amusing in any language or on any continent. MJ Bart, I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where the name James Corden, arsehole, is never heard and where plagiarism is no longer tolerated. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Tommy, am I right? James Corden, arsehole. Wasn't he in the Cats movie also? Wow. Who advises him? Roderick Spode. There are so many stories out there about how unpleasant he is, particularly to waiters and air stewards, etc. That's always a surefire sign of an obnoxious Burke. And on it goes. Interestingly, the comments aren't so much about the film, but mainly about how many people dislike James Corden, arsehole. And this is demonstrative of 2 aspects linked to his narcissism. The first, his arrogant manner, his self-absorbed behaviour, his lack of emotional empathy, and all the other factors that we have witnessed make him unlikable. There are some people who think that he's not a bad actor. That may be right, but he's still a thoroughly unlikable twat as a consequence of his behaviour, which is driven by his narcissism. But rather than retreat from public view and enjoy the millions that he somehow managed to earn whilst he was in the United States, his narcissism also causes him to fail to recognise that many people dislike him, fail to recognise that he would be better served by living a quiet life, and fails to understand that whatever he inserts himself into is going to be affected by the fact that many people really do not like him. And this is demonstrative of his style of narcissism. There are some narcissists that recognise they're not liked and just laugh about it. There are some narcissists who recognise they're not liked and they thrive on it, the highly provocative narcissist. There are some narcissists that recognise they're not liked, don't understand it, think it's entirely unfair, and whinge and complain about it. This one's wife being an example of that. And then you get arseholes like James Corden, arsehole, who doesn't seem to recognise that he's not liked, that it just doesn't register with him, that he thinks that he's hugely amusing and actually well liked. He's so deluded in that regard that he just doesn't pick up on the fact that his behaviour is haughty, arrogant, self-absorbed, and that lots and lots of people detest him. He simply seems blind to it, which in some respects you would say, well, at least that's one way of getting through life. You're just not affected by people's dislike of you. Indeed. But that's the way that his narcissism functions. It basically screens him out, but in so doing makes him all the more unlikable because he's clearly incapable, as any narcissist is, of self-reflection, and also incapable of even making it look like he might be capable of self-reflection, which some narcissists can achieve. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.